You're recording.
I'll start with. There's been so many, but I'll just start with Daryl. Daryl was a cancer patient that I had living at my house. He had lung cancer, and he was only 50 years old. He was a drug addict, and he moved into my house, and he was an addict, and so he was on hospice. So all his drugs were in the safe at my house, so he couldn't get to it. Nobody can get to their drugs. The other patients I had there too.
So you mean the medications or the street drugs?
The medication from
Oh.
hospice.
The pain medication.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he was a drug addict when he moved into my house. I picked him up at the hospital. He was at the hospital when I was volunteering there, and he was homeless. He didn't have a place to live. So I brought him in, and he had those, but he would wait for me to come home. Like he would just patiently wait by the door for me to come home to give him his medication because he was in pain. You know what I mean? He had lung cancer. And, but anyway, at the end of his life, he would be like, he said to me one day, like, I wish I had met you like 5 years ago. Like, life is so easy at this house because all I have to worry about is what kind of cake do I want to eat? Chocolate or carrot cake? I don't have to make any other decisions, and my kids will never find me under a bridge when I die. And he was just so grateful. He was just so grateful. Anyway, so he asked me not to. He did not want morphine, even though he was a drug addict. He wanted to be conscious at the end of his life. He did not want to be totally out of it. And so the nurse comes in one day and she's like, he's at his 24 hour. He's going to die within 24 hours. And I was totally shocked because this man was still walking around, still like trying to be of help in the household. You know what I mean? Like trying to sweep the floor or whatever. He was trying to help. And I was totally shocked. And I had just spoken with him, and we talked about his end. And he was saying, please, I just don't want the morphine. And I don't want to be on diapers.
Okay.
I just want to die with my dignity. So I'm shocked that he only had 24 hours to live. So anyway, she said, they're going to take away his drugs. They're going to give him morphine. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we can't. There's no way we're going to give him morphine. He doesn't want morphine. You know what I mean? She's like, the 24-hour nurse is not going to approve that. You know what I mean? That's the protocol. Right. We give him morphine to help it along. Anyway, the nurse comes in. Daryl is laying in bed. I am sitting there and I'm in prayer. The nurse is there doing his paperwork, and all of a sudden Daryl's gone. Just like that. It was the most amazing death I've ever seen because he didn't cough, he didn't gasp, he didn't do anything. He just slipped right out of his body, and it was just like he got exactly what he wanted. No diapers, no morphine, never even had another dose of drugs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that. After that conversation, he never even had another dose. He just said, "I'm out of here." I mean, if I only have 24 hours, I might as well get out now.
Wow.
So it was amazing. That was the most amazing experience of being with somebody who died without anything but just a final breath that was so silent that I just looked at the nurse. I will open my eyes because I just felt the energy shift. I looked at the nurse. He looked at me, and he was just as shocked as I was. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, he was just as shocked because he shouldn't have died that way. He had lung cancer. He should have been breathing. He should have been having a hard time breathing. That last, sometimes that last breath, all that comes with the end of life. But it was just peaceful and beautiful. So he was only 50 years old. It was just a shame he left nice and early, but we got to experience that Palmetto with the rest of the people that lived there at the time. And then I had another one at the time that was there, and of course that scared the hell out of him because he knew he was next. You know what I mean?
Oh, what was his situation?
Greg had. So there was Greg, and Greg had throat. He had a trach. So I had an experience with Greg till he passed away, and Greg was very difficult when he first moved into my house. Also picked him up at the hospital, brought him home with me, and he had no family, nobody. But Greg was actually, he was a banker for a long time, and he was, but he was, he was home. Like he had an apartment, but he lived like he looked like he was a homeless. You know what I mean? And everybody at the hospital thought he was a homeless, and then I thought he was a homeless and brought him into my house, and then realized, well, actually, he's got some money. Like he had like some nice Social Security coming in every month. And the people at the house there were all people with no money. So he actually started contributing $500 a month to help with the household. But so he had that trach, and he was very difficult when he first came into my house, and like bitter and angry, to the point that I had to say to him once, Greg, I'm a total stranger in your life. You need to respect me a little bit. I'm just brought you into my house, and you're just being this total asshole. So I gave him this little bell. I was so mad at him, and I said, when you need me, you just ring the bell, because I'm not coming in here to check on you, because I was so pissed at him, because he was just so rude or something. I don't know what happened, but he was just being a real dick. Anyway, so but he after like a year and a half of living with me, he totally turned and was just a sweetheart. You know what I mean? But one night he comes into my room and he has a trach, and he comes into my room at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and he's gasping for air. The trach that came out, and he's choking, and I'm like just waking up from the shock, and I'm trying to get the tube back down his throat, and he's panicking, and I'm trying to stay calm, trying to get this thing down his throat, and I'm like, Greg, you have to chill out, you have to calm down. I'm not gonna be able to get this thing in there. Well, we finally got it in. I mean, within like probably seconds of him really losing it, and got it in, and we just, when the two of us were just so relieved. You know what I mean? You can imagine, right? And we just hugged each other. We just hugged each other. We were just like so relieved. I mean, that would have been a moment right there that he would have just died in my arms every time. And probably if that had happened, I probably would never take care of another person again in my life. You know what I mean? That probably would have been like, I'm not capable of this work. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But the fact that he survived it. So that was Greg. And so I cremated him. All right, Craig. And because he was in such denial, like I said, he lived at my house for like, I don't know, a year and a half, almost 2 years probably. And, he was lazy. He never wanted to learn how to talk with that hole. So everything was, he would write it. And at the end, he was just so lazy. He didn't even want to write. So the communication was more like, more body language than anything else. You know what I mean? So he really didn't want to talk about death. Like I would talk to him. I would ask him, like, what do you want me to do? And what? And he's just like later. I don't want to talk about this. You know what I mean? So he died, and I had his ashes, and he was like, what the hell do I do with it now? You know what I mean? Like we never discussed it. We never talked about this. So I had these ashes in my car, and then it was at that time when I just left everything, and I was homeless myself, and I was, heading out of Florida, and I had these ashes in my car, and they stayed in my car for the longest time. And then I ended up, and I knew, Greg was from New Jersey, and so I ended up in New Jersey with his ashes. And I knew he liked baseball, so one day out in the park, I just went out there and I just sprinkled his ashes out in the field. It's probably against the law, but I did it. I'm like, I don't know what to do with these ashes, Greg. And so I did that at this park in Hillside, New Jersey, and then I go back there just last year. I go back to that same park, and I had told Greg at one of our arguments that we had, I loved him so much at the end. He was like a family member, you know what I mean? I just loved him like he was my dad, and or brother. And I said to him once, I said, Greg, we had a past life together. I said we were probably married. I said, but you fucked it up. And now you're back over here, and I'm taking care of you. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm at this park, and the day before, I don't know if I told you the story. The day before I went to that park, I went with my girlfriend Carla. I was looking for a ring, and for my thumb, and I didn't find one. So I'm at the park, and I'm sitting there on a bench, and all of a sudden my girlfriend Carla looks down. She goes, "What's that between on the seat there, in the groove there?" I look down, and it's a ring, a wedding ring, and immediately it just came to me. This is Greg. You know what I mean? His ashes are here. I'm here. The ring is here. This is Greg saying, "I'm here." So I found a ring for my thumb. I got so many stories, honey. I can go on and on. Oh, I'm done. I'm done.